Now, in reference to what I've stated in the previous videos about the dire and dire circumstances that humanity is very quickly going to find itself in. It's already in a process, big time, to annihilate the global population over a period of the next 40 years. It has already started with, you know what, the big C. There's about 51.5 million people who have died of COVID and the jabs. That's, as time moves forward, that number will exponentially continue to grow, because the people who had the jab and multiple, their immune system's been compromised, and the synthetic element that went into them, spike protein, and under an mRNA protocol, it's not going to go away. That's just, the body can be supported immunologically to be able to slow that degradation down, the degenerative processes in the body down from what those jabs done, but there's no getting away from it. You know, sudden heart attacks, sudden strokes, cancers, so it goes on. Now, when I talk about the future of humanity, this is not set in stone, but it's very far down the road. It can still be turned around. What I've seen and what I continue to see is snapshots from a 0 point vantage point. In other words, a heightened state of consciousness. But that's a snapshot in a moment of time on another timeline outside of time, because 0 point, there's no time. But ask yourself, what are the chances that humanity is going to turn it around when you've got AI on a march? It won't be able to be contained. No way. And the developers of it, all of the people that talk about it, you know, you can go on, find it on YouTube, find it on wherever, and they say, well, we think we've let the genie out of the bottle. Yeah, of course you have. Not going to stop there. Where it is now, holy hell no. And we actually don't know where it is now. We know that it's 3 or 4 times more intelligent than human beings right now. Maybe 10 times. I don't know. We don't know. So, it can be turned around, but I don't see that happening. I don't care where this goes. I care, but I can't see it changing. Not while people continue to live the way that they're living now. How is that possible? But it has to be said, and I have to do a caveat, put a caveat on it, what I've said in these previous videos, so that people think, oh, well, you know, this guy's doom and gloomer. No, I'm not a doom and gloomer, but it certainly comes across that way. But how many people are going to do the work? How many people have... This is public. This is not... These videos are public. You know, I only just started back on Facebook after, I don't know how many years, a couple of years off or something. I had nothing to do with it. I was writing the books because I didn't have time to do anything with it. And I got off all social media. I blocked all friends, so-called, were blocked online. I had solitary exile, from self-imposed exile, from the outside world, from the simulation, from, as I said before, I very rarely left this apartment. In 1 year, I left 2 times to go to a doctor to get some eye drops for glaucoma. That's it, to get a script for that. And came straight back. Everything else was delivered, and just to survive. And maybe I'd walk, well, I did walk 250 meters down to this local 7-Eleven here and bought crap from there. Well, I bought what the best I could buy for my, you know, health, but 7-Eleven is 7-Eleven. So, but, you know, I had stuff developed like steak, delivered like steak, and so it went on. Anyway, so I'm not long been back on Facebook. So there's very few followers. There's very few people. At the moment, there's about 40 friends, and most of these friends look to me like they're got another agenda. You know, they're selling something, so they'll be deleted, gotten rid of. So it's out there, and the general public is not interacting with it. And I'm not surprised by that at all, because it's too hard to even contemplate, let alone do the work required not to be annihilated. Who's going to do the work? Not many. Very, very few. That's why I always got the message from God. Greg, what you're doing now is not for now. Your work will be found in the ashes of destruction in 20 years, in 30 years, when for most it'll be too late. But what they will find and what they will realize is somebody made it out. Somebody logged it and mapped it from the other side to show us a way out. And humanity didn't do it. In the bulk, they didn't do it. And I'd say to God, well, why am I fucking doing it then? He said, because it's just got to be done. It's got to be done because you can do it. You've set yourself up so that you can do it. Your whole life has been about the design of getting to a point where you were so fractured. And I said this in the last video. You were so betrayed. You were so... all of these different things that happened to me. And then the final rupture with the craft. And these different intelligences came along. Sigma X was the medium between the craft and me. Anyway, I won't go into all that because not irrelevant, but probably not worth going into, because, you know, I had to get my head around all this stuff. So, but I've simplified it for you in book 3, to do the disciplines, to do the work, what's got to be dropped, what's got to be picked up. And you know, how you can do the work, and in a compressed part of the day, you know, some part of the day that you have to allot to open up another part of your brain and your awareness. See, we have parts of our brain that are all connected to these different realms all the way back to 0 point, where you still are, by the way. But your focus, our focus, was narrowed down to a more narrow and a more narrow lens until it came through different states of density. We may have stayed on those particular realms for billions of years or millions of years, or like millions of years. And then we went into the next, because it was there. We just did it because it was there. Once we got past the third dimensional, the visible light spectrum, that's where the feeders were. That's where the chimera was operating from. And we had no way back. That's why there's very few that ascend these days. It's hard to get out of the third dimension and back into the fourth and fifth while you're still in the body. And it's harder, it's just almost as hard when you don't have the body. If you haven't cultivated the awareness and raised your frequency, raised your consciousness to do that. That's what these books are about. So I needed to put this caveat on that you have a chance, but that window is closing very rapidly. And as I said last night in the other video, the children that are in gestation now, in their mother's wombs, the ones that have just been born, or the children the infertility rate is absolutely exploding. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the jab did a good job of it. And they'll say, well, there's no evidence for that. Yeah, well, of course they're going to say that. But there's just also the women have an innate knowing on a subconscious level that bringing another child into this world the way it is not the thing to do. They feel it. And that biology is affected by those inner feelings. And so they can't get pregnant. They don't want to get pregnant. Or if they do, there's something blocking it. They go and get all the tests, everything looks normal, but they can't conceive. What's wrong? The guy's all right. He's got enough sperm count, but the woman can't conceive. Well, there's a reason behind that. Souls don't want to come back in now because they just think, well, number one, why do I want to go back into the situation where it's pretty much going to be AI driven in the next 50, 60, 70 years that I'm around, and my life won't be cut short, and I may not get back to where I am now. And most of them are, still in the visible light spectrum, these entities that want to come in. But if they're in the fourth dimension, they're still able to reincarnate, but they've got less likelihood to do so because they do have an option on the upper quadrant of 4D, as long as they can maintain that quadrant frequency value. So, it needed to be said that, and that's what book 3 is written about, the rescue legacy, escaping the annihilation of the rescue legacy, is that I've given you disciplines and protocols. Don't have to do them all. You pick what works for you and stick to it. Be persistent, consistent, do it precisely. 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day, 40 minutes a day, an hour a day. Last night, I do it every night. Last night I did mirror focus for an hour. Where I just sat down There's a light that shines to the left-hand side for me onto a mirror that I can sit in front of, a large mirror, elevated myself up a bit, and you just stare into your eyes. Now for me, quite quickly the mirror goes black. And when I first did that, I thought it was like, what happened? It's incredible. Where you're sitting in front of a mirror, you're looking into your eyes, and all of a sudden the mirror's just gone black. And you're thinking, how can a mirror go black and not reflect my image? And yet here I am right in front of it. It's because you've moved into another part of your brain. What I did say last night in the previous video is there's something else that comes out of the black. And what that is ultraviolet blue. You've moved into the fourth dimension. And you see ultraviolet blue in flashes, subtle, but in the background, bleeding through the blackness, the void. So you just sit with that. Sometimes there's a whitish sort of flash where you're slipping close back to the third dimension, but it's ultraviolet blue comes through the black. So you just sit with that because you're in another part of the brain. And that part of the brain has been developed as non-local awareness so that you can elevate your frequency. The mind is quiet. The mimic mind, the simulated mind, shuts up. It shuts up, for me, it shuts up after about 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't do it at all. But for you, your mind's going to go, da, 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 this is that. That's just the way it is, because body-mind consciousness wants to keep control of what it's done all its life. It's concerned with the body. It's concerned with having you distracted. It's concerned with you not being silent because it doesn't like silence. When you, a human being, cultivates silence of the mind, that's when you're in control. That's when you are empowered to raise your frequency. While there's all this chatter going on, that's mimic in control because you're in the simulation. You're in the very program where it feeds off. You see, your energy is like a battery. You go to bed at night, hopefully you sleep okay. Your battery's replenished. You eat food. You're productive. You're creative. You're back in the simulation. The mimic, the simulation, loves a recharged battery because you're productive. You're producing energy for them so they can continue to operate. If you pulled away from the system, if you pulled away and go into exile, go into solitary confinement, which I know most people can't do because, like I said in the previous video, you have debts, you have obligations, you have families, you think you have all these things, but they're all going to fall away. The wife's going to leave, you're going to leave, children grow up, they detach. All of this shit that you've gone through, and now you find yourself at 70 years old or 60 years of age, and life's become pretty empty again. And then you're just with yourself. What are you going to do? Let me have a cup of tea. It'll go cold. So what are you going to do? Continue on the same way. Distract yourself with AI, with mobile phone, with, I don't know, whatever you do. There's so many things that can distract the mind out there in the simulation, movies, alcohol, all these things. They're meant to bring you away from that space in you that is your escape route that you want to cultivate. So, but anyway, I had to do this. I felt like I should do this add-on, because there is a chance, I'm not going to say the collective humanity because that's not going to happen. The option's there. What's written in the books, the option is there. But most are not going to, very small percentage. I would say the readability, if I really push marketing, I really had somebody on board that could get this out there, in the whole world, there would be 0.05% readability. And then being able to digest it and then put it into practice, well, add another 0. But is it worth doing? Is it worth me? Yes, it was. Had to get out there. So this is what I'm doing, endeavouring to wake people up, if they can be awakened. Anyway. You get the idea. Do the work. Please, do the work for yourself. Because there's no one else coming to save you. It's only you. It's back to you. Bye for now.